well, of course we'll pressure the vendors' bills, but I think we can guarantee completion by, say, the 15th. No, sir. I think it's only fair to warn you that I'm not the sole agent, and even I can't withdraw it from my list until the contracts have been exchanged. As a matter of fact, I've got a client with me now who's most interested in it. 11,500, he thinks. That'd be most wise, sir. You get the deposit off to me in the post, and we'll take it from there. Very good. Good morning. Sorry to keep you waiting. Suitor.
Mark.
Oh, sit down, Mr. Marker. Now, what can I do for you?
I'm looking for an office to rent.
On a block or a floor?
Single.
Single. Might I ask what line of country you're in? It helps me to place you.
I'm an inquiry agent.
Oh, divorce and all that caper. Sort of private detective.
That's right.
Well, you're from London, are you?
Oh, yeah.
You know Birmingham?
Not yet, but a few street maps, Kelly's directory, won't take me long.
Here, don't you be too sure. We've got a one-way system here that'd make Aintree look like a double. Now, what sort of rent were you thinking of paying, Mr. Marker? 400 per annum.
£4 per week.
You're not a high flyer, are you, Mr. Marker?
Not yet, no.
I suppose you want something sensible.
Well, preferably.
£4 a week?
There's something in this area do me fine.
You see, it's a bit slow to get started, your job, isn't it, Tommy, until you get known.
You're fairly slow.
One of it's uncertain, a bit dodgy.
I can pay now for the first 3 months.
Good of you to mention it, Mr. Marker.
Well, I felt the door closing on my foot.
Now, I'll be honest with you. There's not a lot of office property around here, and what there is costs a lot more than £4 a week, you know. But...
But my favourite word.
Well, I just happen to have a spare office up at the back there.
Telephone, washing facilities?
Yes.
Can I see it?
Certainly. You know, Mr. Marker, I have an idea that this might suit you down to the ground. Come this way, will you?
Thank you.
Oh, Tessa, look after the shop for a minute, please.
Oh, right here, Mr. Suitor. Don't you worry.
Are we just waiting for planning permission before we get to lift footing, you see? But of course, we haven't had a tenant up here for a couple of years or so.
Monty enters to Brook.
And what stories? That's what we use the place for, stories. Out of place, it all look quite different.
Edgbaston, 5 bed, 3 recept, 2 bath, 4 of an acre landscape garden, double garage. 1,400 on Aristotle. Put me down for 2 of those.
18,000, that's what that'd cost today.
Oh, yeah.
Kane's timber yard.
Oh, Mr. Suitor, tough. Well, it's bad for clientele.
Surely not.
Oh, well, look, imagine it. Attractive young wife, nervous, tugging her skirt down over her knee, shy blush on her cheek, steeling herself to confide some delicate indiscretion, and all of a sudden Citizen Kane down there shouts out, timber!
£3 change.
Oh, the rapport shattered. The moment's gone. So is the client. £3.
£4, but I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll furnish it.
All right, desk, 2 chairs, telephone, sofa.
Sofa?
Oh, but when I missed the last bus. You don't expect me to sleep in the filing cabinet, do you?
OK, sofa. You did mention something about 3 months' rent in advance.
So I did, and you mentioned something about a telephone.
Oh, One telephone.
I'll take your word for it.
Oh, when do you want to move in, then?
Well, when can you have it ready?
Monday.
Next Monday.
This Monday.
We got a deal, then.
Fair enough.
North Fair, 99.
Mr. Marker, please.
Marker speaking.
Mr. Marker, my name is Jessup. Mrs. Jessup. I wonder if you could come and talk to me sometime. I badly need your services. No, I'd rather you came here. 18 Worsley Road, if you don't mind. I'd prefer not to discuss it on the phone.
All right then, Mrs. Jessup. I'll come and see you straight away. Yes, I'm usually considered discreet. Well, we can talk about that when I get there. All right. Goodbye.
You're new to Birmingham, Mr. Marker.
Yes, I am.
I thought I hadn't seen your advertisement before.
No, first time.
I'm a great newspaper reader. Won't you sit down?
Thank you. Oh, you the artistic one?
Artistic, but not the artist, I'm afraid. Would you think it odd or rude of me if we talked about you for a moment?
No, that's all.
It's one thing to pick up the phone and talk to a disembodied voice. Quite another when you come face to face with the owner.
Well, I quite understand. That's why I suggested you came to my office. It's more impersonal.
You're probably right. Expect to think I'm rather silly.
A bit.
Are you good at finding people?
Well, it depends.
On what?
How well they're hidden. How far they've gone, how long they've been gone. And then on whether or not they want to be found.
They wouldn't have run away if they'd wanted to be found.
Remember playing hide and seek? A terrible letdown if you weren't found. Or grown-ups sometimes play the same game. The easiest way to stop it is not to look. Forces their hand, you see.
You don't dress up the facts much, Mr. Marker.
Well, there isn't much point. I'm the one who'll be reporting to you at the end of the case, successful or not. And if they're lost, and I mean really lost, you'll do better with the police.
Well, it's my husband. He's an artist, an art master, really, a teacher. Needs time to develop, to find himself.
Is that his?
Yes.
How old is he?
35. He'll be a good painter one day. Very good. Last summer holidays, he disappeared. Left me around the end of July. And I haven't seen him since.
You haven't heard from him?
Nothing.
Not even indirectly?
Not a word. At first I thought, well, an artist needs freedom. I thought eventually he'll have enough and come back.
Have you been in touch with his school?
I thought of it, but... Mr. Marker, I'll confess something. Might make it easier for you to understand. My pride wouldn't let me go down there. To be the gossip of that common room. Discussed over the tea and the chalk dusters like a change in the syllabus. I couldn't face it.
No, of course not. Mrs. Jessup, there are one or two questions one just has to ask.
I understand.
Do you think there was another woman?
I honestly don't know. Certainly not to my knowledge.
Well, did you and your husband have any kind of big row before he left?
None whatsoever.
Forgive me saying so, but all this didn't come out of a school teacher's salary. Is it you that has the money, Mrs. Jessup?
Yes. My father was a well-known local builder.
And your husband had only his salary?
Plus whatever he wanted. I believe money's there to be used, Mr. Marker. I have no illusions about being the richest woman in the cemetery.
But what about his bank, personal insurance, things like that?
I jotted down a few notes for you on the back of his photograph.
Oh, thank you.
I also wrote you a cheque for £25.
Oh.
When you want more, just let me know.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Did your husband subscribe to any art magazines, record clubs, anything like that?
No, I don't think so.
Or did he have his own doctor and dentist? What about a tailor?
He usually bought his clothes off the peg. He's a standard size. Neither my doctor nor my dentist have seen him since.
Well, looks as if I'll have to start with the school, isn't it?
Mr. Marker? Mm-hmm. I hated telling you these things. A stranger walks in and the very next breath, you're telling him things you wouldn't even confide to your own brother. Please find him for me. Please be discreet.
I'll do my best. Oh, thank you. Goodbye.
Now, Kevin, let go of him at once. I told you before about that. You're not to bully him like that. It shows respect.
Mrs. Muncaster?
Yes.
I wonder if you can help me. I'm from the British Legion. I'm looking for a teacher of yours, a Mr. Jessup.
Donald Jessup.
Yes, it's about his subscription. I seem to have lost track of him.
Oh, you won't find him here.
Oh, won't I?
No, he's left. Let me see, be about 3 years last July.
3 years?
That's right.
Are you sure?
Oh, yes. Mr. Myers replaced him.
But are you sure it was 3 years?
Oh, absolutely. We lost our Miss Olsen that term as well. I was very sorry to see her leave. She came to us straight from college, Westbourne Road. I'd rather earmarked her to replace me one day. Still not to be.
Whatever happened to Mr. Jessup?
Oh, I've no idea. She got the Larousse Gastronomique and he got the Oxford Dictionary of Quotations. Makes a change from the conventional gold watch.
Yeah, and you've heard nothing of him since?
That's right.
Do you think this Miss Olsen might know what happened to him?
Oh, no, I doubt it. She's married now. I bumped into her only the other Saturday
Still
morning.
teaching?
Yes, Felstead Road Comprehensive. You must excuse me, Mr.
Mrs. Muncaster, do you happen to know Miss Olsen's married name?
Yes, of course. It's Scott.
Come in.
Mrs. Scott?
Yes?
My name's Mark. I'm from the British Legion. I wonder if you could help me.
I thought you might be an irate parent.
No, not guilty. Don't let me hold you up, please.
Well, I will carry on if you don't mind. There's only 5 minutes before the next class.
I've just come from Cedars Road. Mrs. Muncaster sent me over.
Oh, yes?
I'm looking for a man called Jessup, Donald Jessup. Well, you both left Mrs. Muncaster's at the same time. I thought perhaps you might know where he went.
Jess? I'm sorry. That's the name I haven't heard in a long time.
You have no idea what happened to him?
None at all. If Mrs. Muncaster doesn't know, I don't know who would.
No, well, I'm sorry to have troubled you. Wait a minute. You think the education department might have some news about...
Oh, I should imagine so. If he's still around.
You think he might not be?
Well, I didn't know him that well, Mr. Marker. He was always talking about leaving the country, doing a Gauguin, settling down somewhere in the sun.
Oh, well, never mind. 2 years subscriptions owing. It hardly justifies me searching the South Seas, does it?
I suppose not.
Well, thank you for your help.
I'm sorry I couldn't.
Well?
Well, what?
Don't you want to know what I dropped?
What?
A large glass jar. Our kitchen looks like Villa Park after a semi-final. Bottle tops, yogurt tops, chocolate
It's
wrappers.
silver paper for the guide dog.
I say. What's a guide dog want with silver paper?
They sell it, and it buys a dog.
Who's they?
Does it matter?
Well, it's the sort of thing I ought to know. I mean, I might have gone through life thinking you had a fetish for silver paper.
I give it to Ma Corby.
Now, what's she do with it?
She gives it to the woman across the street.
What? Quasimodo?
Who gives it to a man from the Baptist chapel.
Oh, the Baptists are in on it too, are they? Well, the Welsh collies will be working overtime this year, won't they? Labradors, Alsatians, they won't get a look in. Why are you doing this?
Oh, it's got to be done sometime.
But why tonight?
Why not?
Ah, logical. Now look, guess what?
I'm not in a guessing mood.
Yes, I've noticed. It's as long as Livery Street. All right. Since you don't want to guess, I'll tell you. The head has invited me to take the lower six to Paris for a week in August.
You?
Well, don't sound so surprised.
Why not? You don't take the six.
I'm taking them to Paris.
Well, I hope it stays fine for you.
We stay at Elysee. The vin will be ordinaire, but who cares? No, we're going to do the whole bit. From Sacré-Cœur to the Louvre to Versailles. I'll open their eyes for them. They'll return and see the bull ring in a new light. Well, some of them, I hope, anyway. Now, look here. Come on. Come on, what is it?
I've got a headache.
Oh, I'm sorry. Shall I get you an
Oh,
aspirin?
just let's have a few moments. Hush. Please.
I grow old. I grow old.
I shall wear the bottom of my trousers rolled.
on. You weren't in the army, were you?
No. Well, neither was Errol Flynn. Didn't hold him back.
Yes, but you have to have been in the services to be in the British Legion, don't you?
One extraordinary girl you are. How should I know? I don't know anything about the British Legion. It may come as a bit of a shock to you, but as a matter of fact, I'm not all that well versed in the Foreign Legion, or even the Roman Legion.
In fact, there are a whole legion of legions about which I know nothing.
Karen? Love? Your coffee will be getting cold.
Yeah, will you put me through to the education department, please? Thank you. Oh, hello, education department. I wonder if you can help me. I'm trying to trace an old teacher of mine, Mr. Jessup. Donald, I think. Oh, yes, Cedars Road Junior, Miss Muncaster.
Busy?
No, come in.
You haven't got another cup in the pot, have you?
In there, help yourself.
Oh. Tessa's a treasure. She's got a cracking figure, but she can't brew a decent cup of tea.
Oh, hello, yes. No trace of him at all. Left the profession. Oh, I see. Well, thank you. Thank you very much for your trouble. Yeah, goodbye.
What are you looking for now, then?
School teacher.
You never find him with that accent.
You wouldn't like to help, would you?
What, me?
Yes, you.
What do you want me to do,
Well,
then?
get on to your estate agent friends who specialise in furnished flats.
Why?
Well, if he hasn't left Birmingham, it's 10 to 1 he's hiding somewhere.
10 to 1 he's moved in with a bed.
No, I tried that. His wife doesn't seem to think so.
Well, she wouldn't, would she?
True, true.
What's his geezer's name, then?
Jessup, Donald Jessup, acquiring property around July 1962.
July 62, what price bracket?
Yeah, teacher's salary.
Hey, if she's not missed him for 3 years, what do you want to bother now for?
I don't know the answer to that. Yet.
All right, Julian. That'll do. You can go now.
Well, you about ready to go?
There's a staff meeting at 4:45.
Can't you miss it? Well, do you want me to go on home?
If you like.
Now, come on, Karen, what is this? What's wrong? I'm in the doghouse and I haven't done anything, have I?
Don't shout at me.
I'm not shouting at you, but I'm being convicted. I don't even know the charge. Now, what's wrong? What have I done?
Nothing you've done. I'll see you at home.
Yes, if I'm there.
If you're not, I won't see you, will I?
Oh, fabulous.
I told you, we've been under the vendor's builders. Look, can you hold on a minute? Look, this is for you.
Ah,
That's where you'll find Jessup.
thanks.
Look, I'm very busy at the moment. Can I ring you back in half an hour? Right. How about that, then?
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Go for the provinces.
It's fantastic. I could run a private detective agency.
You could, the amount of spare time you get.
I don't knock it, Mark. You've got a fair little office up there. Do you know, on a clear day, you used to be able to see the Licky Hills up from there.
Ah, yeah, but they had good eyesight in those days, didn't they?
Hey, what are you going to do about Jessup, then?
I'm going to see him this evening. What?
I know it didn't say what kind of bottle party, but you didn't have to be that literal, did you?
Oh, no, I picked it up on the step, but...
Ah. You're not the chappie from the hi-fi shop, are you?
No.
Pity. The record player's on the blink.
Do you want me to have a look at it for you?
Could you? That'd be super. I'm Angie.
I'm Frank Marker.
Pleased to know you. Could you zip me up? Thanks. I think it might be the plug.
Have you got a screwdriver?
Oh, yes, I'll get it. Here you are, then.
Oh, so. You lived here long?
Yes.
How many?
I'm in my fourth. Dip-ed.
Huh?
Diploma of Education. Going to be a teacher. School mom.
You live here all by yourself, do you?
Are you kidding? What would I want with all this splendour? More to the point, where would I get the rent? Here. Taste this.
Oh, thank you. Cheers.
Tell me what you think. I've suspended critical judgment. Well,
Good.
good, or just middling good?
Oh, good.
Thanks, you're a pal.
What's in it?
Well, so far the cider, fermenting pineapple, and a drop of gin. Kitchen smells like the canal in July.
Yes, I'll bet. What do you call it?
A nanos frappe. You seem to be doing very well. Are you sure you're not from the hi-fi shop?
Quite sure.
Could have fooled me.
It's only a loose terminal, you know.
What do you do, Frank?
I'm an inquiry agent.
Oh, yes, of course.
No, really.
I'll believe you. Question. What are you inquiring after?
A man
A
named...
man? And you come here? Mad rash optimist.
His name's Jessup.
Jessup.
Doesn't ring any bells?
No, not a peep. He's not one of ours.
But he used to live here.
Here? When?
Oh, in July 1962.
That's donkey's years ago.
Ah, well, I don't take the easy cases, you know.
We must have come in as he moved out.
Ah. Angie, hold on. Is that him?
Yes, it is.
Ah, but did he live alone? Can you remember?
No, he had a wife.
Or did you see her?
Don't think so. No, definitely not. We came twice. The first time was with the agent, and the second time he was here on his own. What do you want him for?
Well, I don't. His wife does.
Oh, one of those. All we need now is a vicar, and we're a natural for the Sunday.
Well, look, did he leave a forwarding address?
Oh, I think he did, but I wouldn't know whether we've still got it.
Well, where might you have put it?
It'll probably be in the dresser in the kitchen. You need it now?
Well, preferably, yes.
Why don't you stay to the party? Be fun?
Well, I don't think I'd fit in, do you?
Of course you would. We can play murder and you can be the detective.
Thanks, but no thanks.
Oh, now listen. If you want that address, you can't expect me to look now, so you're going to have to stay, aren't you? It's not every party that has its own private detective.
All right. Unzip me, will you?
That's it. Tell me, what if Jessup doesn't want to be found?
But what if the children don't want to be taught?
Good. You'll have to ask me that again later. Be a pal and answer it, will you? Introduce yourself. And don't forget your mind.
No, miss. And you will look for that address, won't you?
Stop worrying. I'll find it for you. Promise. Hello!
Oh, excuse me.
Yes?
Does Donald Jessup live here?
Who?
Donald Jessup.
Oh, not anymore now. He left a couple of years ago.
Oh, do you know where he's gone?
Oh, I've got many things to do with my time and chat to you all day. This house doesn't clean itself, you know.
Does Donald Jessup live here? Well, I know he had some furniture delivered here.
No.
Do you know where he's gone?
1 minute.
Bertie, it's your turn. Oh! Stay there, please. What do you want?
No, I'm sorry if I frightened you. Are you Mrs. Corby?
Yes?
Do you live in the house?
Yes.
Ah, good. Then you might be able to help me. I'm looking for a man called Jessup.
Never heard of him.
What, never?
That's what I said.
Look, Mrs. Corby, I think we'd both be a lot happier if you put those down, don't you? That's better. Now, how long have you lived here?
Since 1938.
I see. And you do let flats, don't you?
Yes, but not to anyone called Jessup. Now go away, please.
Are you sure? I mean, have you never had a tenant called Jessup?
Well, of course I'm sure. Are you a policeman?
No, I'm an inquiry agent.
Oh, a private detective.
Yeah.
Has he left home?
Something like that, yes.
Children?
Oh, no.
Oh, good. It's always the children I feel sorry for.
Now, how many flats have you got, Mrs. Corby?
6.
Any of them recent lets?
No. The last was the Carsons. That's 9 months ago.
Are you sure you've never seen that man? Well, have you?
Well, of course I have. He lives on the top floor with his wife. That's Mr. Scott.
Scott.
May I come in?
Of course, Mrs. Corby. Oh, I'm trying to work out where all the money goes. There must be all this bargain offers. Was it me you wanted to talk to, or my husband?
You. I have a niece in Canada. I think I told you about her. Well, I'm afraid a rather awkward situation has come up.
Oh.
Yes. She's decided quite suddenly that she'd like to come back to England. Her husband's job hasn't worked out. And, well, to cut a long story, I'm afraid I shall need this flat back.
Why this particular flat?
Oh, it's the best.
Look, I know we don't have a lease, but obviously we'll have to give
yes,
us some...
of course, but it is rather urgent.
How long?
Would 2 weeks be enough?
It's a bit sudden, isn't
No,
it?
there's quite a lot of property on offer. I was looking in the evening paper.
Why?
Why what?
Well, why were you looking at the property page? Surely if it's your niece who's moving in, you won't have to advertise.
Advertise? Nobody mentioned the word advertise.
Nobody mentioned the private detective who called. But he did call, didn't he?
I don't know what you're talking about.
What did he tell you? That he's looking for a Donald Jessup who's living in sin with some trollop. Oh, don't look so shocked, please. I'm used to this.
You may be. But when a couple arrive at my door, I'm old-fashioned enough to assume that they're married.
How do you know we're not?
I'm afraid you'll have to go. Well, have you spoken to him?
Not yet. I wanted to see you again first, Mrs. Jessup. Why did you tell me he left you last July?
Because I thought if I told you the truth, you'd never have looked for him.
Well, it's made things that much harder.
I'll bear it in mind when I pay you. Where is he? Still in Birmingham?
Yes?
Alone?
No.
Who is she?
A teacher?
From Cedar Road.
Yes?
Young?
Yes.
Is she attractive?
Look, Mrs. Jessup,
Is she
what is the...
attractive?
Very.
I suppose if one were a true Christian, one would say, bless them both. And that would be that. Unfortunately, I'm not. Unfortunately, I can only remember how dear Donald used me. And then when he got what he wanted, he left me. I was relatively old and relatively washed up. He was relatively young.
Am I being too bloody-minded, Mr. Marker?
I don't like to be used and then tossed on the scrap heap.
Mrs. Jessup, what do you want me to do?
What's wrong, Mr. Marker? Does it bore you to listen to a little bitterness?
It doesn't bore me. Doesn't do any good either. Instruct me what to do and I'll do it.
Very well. I want evidence, photographs, evidence of cohabitation. I want them followed. More than that, I want them to know they're followed. If you need to take on an assistant, do so. I want to know every move they make, every place they go. I want to know everything about them.
Mrs. Jessup, I'm not going to turn myself into a one-man Gestapo. You're paying me to get evidence for a divorce, and that's what I'll get.
No, I've grown quite attached to this place, too. Even that dog next door had stopped barking at me. Well, I suppose I'd better go and see a couple of estate agents on Saturday morning.
Do you think it's worth it?
What's the alternative?
John, I don't think I can go on like this, honestly, I don't. Living like a couple of fugitives, one crummy flat after another. What about a place of our own? Will it ever get to that? Or a baby?
Karen, please.
You'd better come in. Meet Mr. Marker. Whatever else he is not from the British Legion.
Bastard. You sanctimonious bastard.
All right. Heard it all before. You're done with Jessup.
No. Next question.
Who are you, then?
I'm Donald Scott.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
Since when?
Since I changed my name.
Really? And how did you do that?
Deed poll through a solicitor.
Pretty expensive business, huh?
It costs precisely 10 shillings. Satisfied?
Why'd you do it?
Why?
Darn, it doesn't matter. Nobody believes us.
Look, Mrs. Scott, I'm
Why
very...
don't you mind your own damn business for once?
Karen? Karen? Satisfied, Mr. Marker? Justice done, and seen to be done.
I was hired to do a job.
Yes, well, you've succeeded. Congratulations. My sincere thanks also for what you've just done to my wife.
Oh, you two are married.
Oh, yes. We're strictly conventional.
And what about Mrs. Jessup?
Mrs. Jessup, we were divorced 3 years ago.
Divorced? But she hired me to find you.
Yes. You're the fourth. I'll tell you something else. You've all been successful. As soon as we get nicely settled, you flat, you job, along comes another creeper poking his nose into our lives. Oh, we had our notice to quit today. You'll be able to tell her that. That'll give her her kick, won't it?
Is she mad or what?
Oh, you tell me, Mr. Martin. She's your client.
But once you have her restrained, it's against the law.
Who's going to pay for it?
You can get legal aid.
She can afford the finest lawyers money could buy.
Look, what are you frightened of?
Now, look here, Marker.
Now, listen, we're not film stars, you know.
Divorce, adultery, they're not social cachet. Not if you happen to be a school teacher.
Well, why does she do it?
Because she's a vicious bitch. Yeah. That's not really a reason, is it? Well, did she tell you that I was a great painter, a sort of undiscovered Picasso?
The worst to that effect, yes.
She showed you the canvases.
Oh, yes.
Marker, I'm the world's worst painter. I haven't a crumb of talent. But you see, that woman is so vain, she couldn't be just married. I mean, not to a mere man, particularly someone who was only a schoolteacher. No, it had to be much more than that. It had to be built up, dramatized. I was to be the future portrait painter, oils by appointment. The only art I have is to wipe noses in a secondary modern. Pathetic, isn't it?
Oh, I'm no expert, but those paintings seem pretty good to me.
Well, yes, they are, aren't they? But then they're not mine. She bought them. Oh, I tell you, life with her was one long charade. I never knew from one moment to the next who I was supposed to be. She just leeches off people. She'd have eaten me alive. You surprised now that I left?
No, I'm not. As a matter of fact, one or two things I'm not surprised about now. Where's your wife?
Oh, poor love, she'll be down in the garden having a weep.
You sound very sure.
I am. It's the only place here you can get any privacy.
Well, you don't think she might have gone for good?
For good? Where to?
Well, how should I know?
You're the detective.
Well, all right, then, to her parents.
Be a long swim. They've emigrated.
Look, I'm going to have a word with her alone first. You get a coat on and follow me down, because if she's not in that garden, we've got to start searching. Bus depot, stations, everywhere.
Leave me alone.
Mrs. Scott,
Please.
I'm sorry. I said I'm sorry.
I heard you. Now go away.
Where are you going?
That's none of your business.
You got any money?
Yes.
Look, if you run away from your husband now, you're playing right into Mrs. Jessup's hands. Don't you see that?
I see it. I also see that she's finally won.
No, I don't think so.
Oh, who cares what you think?
Giving up like this is just what she wants.
And you.
It's not true. I was hired to do a job.
Well, you've done it. Now go and get paid.
I was hired to find your husband, Mrs. Scott. I didn't know I was being used to bust up your marriage. Now, I mean it, you know, when I say I'm sorry. Honestly.
A private detective with honor.
Your husband's worried sick about you. Why don't you come home? Hmm?
Why? We'll move. It'll take a couple of months to find us, if we're lucky. Then another bloodhound like Grubby Mac. More questions, more insinuations, more rows. I can't go on.
Look, if I can put a stop to Mrs. Jessup once and for all, would you go back home?
How would you do it?
But that's my worry. Now, will you go back? It's worth a try, isn't it?
We can't afford a private detective.
You don't have to. I'll get paid.
Who by?
Well, her, of course.
Are you sure?
It's the one thing I am sure of.
Trouble with these big gestures, they don't work. You run out, slam the door, and that's it. Anticlimax.
Who's that? Mr. Marker, what a time to call. Couldn't you wait till later?
No, I'm sorry. You've been a bit less than honest with me, haven't you?
Have I?
Yes. You and your husband were divorced 3 years ago. What's the matter? Slip your mind?
Did I say we weren't?
Well, you led me to that conclusion.
Oh, Mr. Marker, that doesn't sound much like a detective. Conclusions? Is that the basis on which you take your cases? You've only just started in Birmingham. You'd sound something of a fool, wouldn't you? Following a man who'd been divorced 3 years? I think we'd better call a halt to the whole thing.
Yeah, until the next inquiry agent opens up an office, and then the whole nasty business starts all over again.
I don't see that's anything for you to worry about. How much do I owe you?
£40.
Pity. I made it for 50. Never mind. Expensive little game, isn't it? I shall have to take a bridge or something.
Well, this is one cheque I'm not going to cash.
Why not?
It's going straight into my safe until you start to bother the Scots again. And then it goes straight to the police.
That's blackmail.
That's right. Blackmail.
But why? Now, it was a little malicious, admittedly. But married women don't do themselves so well. Just a widow's innocent game.
There isn't a judge in the country who'll believe you.
Dick Trevor's daughter, who got taken in by a fortune hunter. Oh, Mr. Marker, you've still got a lot to learn.
Pussycat. Puss? Naughty. Shouldn't run away from Big Tom, you know. It's bad for his ego. Who's this?
Marker.
What do you want?
How old are you?
What's it to you?
Well, I was just wondering.
Wondering what?
If you're above the age of consent.
Oh, get out, Marker.
You were right, weren't you? Married women don't do so well for themselves, do they?
Is he trying to be funny?
Shut up. Look, that's a big house. I was lonely.
Yeah, I can see that from here.
That's
I
nothing.
can take it and that this is the end of it. All right.
Yes.
Good.
What was all that about? Or what did he mean by the end of it? Or what did he mean?
Come here.
Tell me. What did he mean?
You're not here to ask questions.